Zweite nach Mechudestik with Chassidus. Zweite, I'm a kabbalah that. I'm a kabbalah.
Philosophically, it follows if as soon as you say that all of the energy of the universe is God's energy.
No, it absolutely must be, and everyone must agree with it. But the thing is that most people would only put it like this. Or I don't know about most people, but if someone wanted to be very strict, he could say it could be a means of rebuke. Look, you jerk. God is giving you energy all the time, He's giving you vitality all the time, and you're using that energy that He gives you to.
But Gemara says
which
I believe the Gemara says such a rebuke.
Yeah. Okay. So as a rebuke, it's very understandable. The Shem doesn't say it as a rebuke. The Shem gives it as a source of encouragement that a person should be aroused to repentance, and a person should understand that even when he was sinning, what are you saying?
No, you have both. You find both.
And sometimes it is a rebuke. I remember that also.
Like you're bringing God so low.
Right. But it's not always like that. It's not. Sometimes it says I think the Baal Shem Tov works it. I think they work it in the Ksavim in such a way that it is both. That since when you sin, then you realize that you brought God so low. That's a redemptive aspect in the sin. That's a redemptive aspect of the sin. Yeah, then you get the light from the sin. You get the light from the sin because the sin made you realize. The sin made you realize how you were slapping God in the face, so to speak, and that brought you to truth. So you get the light from the sin. I think ultimately it goes like that, right? Ultimately it goes both ways, and the whole business that it's viewed as a rebuke ultimately becomes redemptive. I think it works like that. At least in some. You remember something like that? I think so. Right? You're decided that you did such a gefährliche Sache, so verkehrt, that's already an oil that comes from that Beta. Yeah, what does that mean? Why does it mean that? Why does Daisy mean low?
Start by the laws. Start by the laws. Doesn't start by the.
Yeah, but it starts by the lowest without the oil in it.
Yes, I just want to have it ready. Yeah. Once you came down there and you did it, then you
That's how they learn it. That's how they learn it.
You'll get it anyways.
And wait a second. So they learn it at days there because it's more oil with the tshuva. That's how they learn it.
Once you came down so low, then you can find the inside.
Interessant. So. At any rate, I think it's like that. I think that it's not always a rebuke, right? It's not always a rebuke, and I think the way they put it forth, it's like that the rebuke becomes part of the redemptive process ultimately. That you sin and then you realize that by sinning you wrong God so strongly because you use the energy that He gives you, so to speak, to attack Him. So that gives a redemptive aspect of the sin. Ultimately, the sin winds up bringing you closer to God.
That's kind of to say that. We'll accept the premise that everything that God does is good, and since I sin, nothing could happen without God's doing it. That means God is also doing this.
Okay,
and that means
I'm not pushing it that far yet. No, I'm not pushing it that far yet. That wasn't said yet. That wasn't said yet. See, you're pushing it all the way.
It looks like that's where
I'm trying to make levels. I'm trying to see how many levels can we find in Chassidic antinomianism or this Chassidic messing with sin. Like it's not you're pushing it like to the ultimate level. Everything is from God, so the sin is also from God. Okay, that's the end of the game.
Right, and that redeems the sin.
We get to that. Yeah, then you don't even need to redeem it. I understand, but I'm trying to show they don't always operate on that level.
Right, but they wouldn't be willing to admit that not everything that God does is good.
Yeah, but the problem is free will. Yeah? As long as you have a premise of free will, it gets in the way of God just doing everything because God allows you to indulge. So it's not just that God is doing everything. So we still have the problem. Is there a way to find the redemptive aspect in the sin?
In other words, He's doing things that He doesn't want to do. Yeah. The question is, how much does the fact that He enables you to do it mean that He approves? Right?
Where's that?
Everyone agrees that He enables you to do it. The question is, how much does that is that a proof of His approval? That's the question.
Well said.
I was just thinking, just in response to that if not, then what's the redemptive aspect of it? Then who cares if it's God's energy? How does that redeem the sin if it was God's energy?
Okay,
it's
a little complicated. I think you could say that it's a good question, but I think they try to bring in redemptive aspect from the fact that you were with God even at the time of this.
Right, you have to redeem it, ultimately.
You were with God even at the time of sin. You weren't totally cut off from God at the time of sin. I think that's one way to understand. And I think there's another way where they push it, like we were talking just now, where ultimately you think about what happened, and then you realize that what you did, that God gave you this energy, and God was with you all the time, and you used His energy to slap Him, and that itself arouses thoughts of repentance in you. That becomes the redemption of the sin, because the sin led to the rebuke, and the rebuke led to the repentance. Ultimately, the sin wound up bringing you closer to God.
It's a psychological trick.
It's a psychological trick, but if we go with spiritual reality, some things are not just psychological. In other words, if we go with spirituality, that means if that psychological trick works, it means something really happened spiritually. In fact, you wound up getting closer to God. Yes.
It does work the other way around. Through rebuke, I mean, the bitterness and darkness of sin, you feel detached, and all of a sudden you want to do tshuva, but then tshuva, when it really happens, when you realize that it could work on it.
Yeah, but you're pushing it all the way, and I don't see why you should push it all the way. He was also saying that, but
I don't like rebuke.
What? I understand, but I don't hear in that schmooze that the Eibush was Machayim b'Shas Davera. I don't hear yet that's going all the way to Ishbitz land. You understand? I don't hear yet.
Gary,
Yeah.
the Rambam says that things will dark al I think the Shas Aveda.
Yeah.
It's this idea that even when doing Aveda, you understand, shot with a spineless, so to speak. The Rambam says that in the Brachos.
The what?
On the Indian of Torah, Mubarak al Rosh, Mubarak al Torah.
Yeah.
I feel
B'Shas Aveda. Yeah.
Zoy Lush we use.
Yeah. I'd be interested to see that. I'd be interested to see that. Yeah, I'd be interested to see that. That's you know about it? I'd be very interested to see that. If you can show that to me, I'd really appreciate it. I'd really appreciate it. Yeah. Okay, so now we have another level, and this is what I want to quote Reb Charlie on. And he showed me this word from the Shkiz, and he told me now that he found it from the Man, and that they bring such a word. That it says, "Hatshuva tmuna ba'achet kemoisha shemen tomun ba'azayis." That the tshuva is contained and hidden, the repentance is contained and hidden in the chet, in the sin, in the avera, just as the oil is contained and hidden within the olive. So if you say it like that, then if you say it like that, I think now this is pushing it quite hard. Now this means that even at the time of the sin, the repentance is already there. Even at the time of the sin, the sin is somehow viewed just like when you think of an olive, the olive is made to squeeze and get the oil out of it. That's how we think of it.